Hello again, beloved child of God. I woke up this morning, and since it's a weekend right now, I usually don't go on walks on weekends. So I usually do like a 10 or 15 minute like hit or cardio 2 or 3 times a day, just to keep my energy flowing, because I can get drained pretty quickly if I don't. Since I quit taking medication completely, I don't take anything. I don't do anything. I haven't felt better ever. Honestly, it's been the best feeling. But at the same time, that means I have to find alternative methods to um, deal with sinus issues. Usually I would just take like Sudafed or whatever, but I don't take anything like that anymore. I would take pain meds, for the migraines or headaches or what have you. Um, but I don't do that anymore. So I mean, I don't really get migraines as much as I used to. They're more like strong headaches. But a lot of them are stress based. So I have noticed that when I stress out or when I start getting fearful, that's when my blood starts like circulating really oddly. The top of my head starts pounding, like my blood pressure, and that's where the headaches come from. I didn't know that though. So now I'm working on like staying calm at all times, and not allowing myself to get past a certain point, because if I get extremely frustrated, then that headache is right around the corner, and it's kind of hard to get rid of it once you have worked yourself up to that point. But I didn't realize it was me doing it. I thought, I needed another way to deal with this life, to deal with my stress levels, to deal with work, my family, all these things that I can't control. Control is just an illusion, though, so I had to surrender it all to God. Um, but in the end, He's been showing me other ways to cope or handle, to thrive in this world. Not, I'm in it, but I'm not of it. So I have to have a different way to handle every situation other than the ways that I used to, because I was in the world and that was just naturally the way I coped. Everybody else did it, so why not? So I do a lot of exercise now, not for weight loss. It just naturally, I'm losing weight naturally, and I'm not really even focused on that anymore. I don't care. Um, there are a couple areas though that I'm trying to like tone it up, because like the arms, I'm not a big fan of the arms, and I did have 2 kids, so like the belly, I do want to do something about that, but that's about it. Um, and Recently, this morning, um, God nudged me, like He usually does when He wants me to speak about something. And recently, I have been working myself into like anxiety, because He'll tell me to say something or, speak on a certain subject, and I'll put it off, and I'll end up thinking about it, like, why would you even want me to talk about that? And then I'll put it off and put it off and put it off until the point where He's like, it's now, do it now. And I'm already like in my mind, I've got all these things built up, like terrible scenarios. Um, but he'll tear them all down right before I start the video or whatever you call it. And this morning, He said, I want you to talk about your weaknesses. Ah, there's so many. There's so many. But what I was going to do is just write it down, think about it for a while, get a list of weaknesses, and come on and tell you about it later. But He said, don't think about it. Don't think about it. Just do it. So I said, all right, Lord, I'm not going to think about it. I try not to, think ahead, because I don't want it to be, I want it to be genuine. So I don't want it to be acted out. I don't want it to be, and I'm a big preparer. Like I prepare everything. If you tell me I need a job done, I'm already in my head, like I'm going to do it like this, and here's step 1, 2, 3. I'm very analytical. So to tell me not to think about it at all, that takes faith. That takes surrender. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So, I got a lot of weaknesses. As you already know, addiction was one of them for many, many years. And it was because of like my brokenness, the roots of rejection, and coping mechanisms. I didn't know how to deal with my life or my family or my world at all, because I was very insecure for many, many years. I'm still working on that. There's still parts of me that, depending on the situation I'm in, sometimes I'm pretty confident, not in myself, but in the Lord. Like, I already know what He wants me to do. And in other situations, I get nervous, like really nervous. And that's when I notice, like, sometimes it's a good nervous, but a lot of times it's not. It's one of those, I don't even want to be here. I'm fearful. I don't like this feeling. And then I have to overcome it with verses, because he'll tell me, quick, go back to Joshua, be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Well, he wouldn't tell me not to be afraid if I didn't have a reason to be afraid. So he already knew this beforehand. But I've struggled with anger many, many times in my life. And it's not that I wanted that anger. It was, I felt attacked. Or when I feel attacked, or I feel insignificant, when someone is bullying me or mocking me or downing me, that's when I have noticed that anger starts to rise within me, and I don't like it. I've noticed that if I get to a certain point in anger, sometimes name calling, I don't like that. I hate that. I really do. I don't. So I have been taking steps to make sure that it doesn't happen, because you can't stop yourself from being put into situations where you might encounter someone who just doesn't like you at all, or maybe it's your family. Maybe your family. And I grew up in a household where name calling was normal, so I didn't think anything of it. My whole childhood was, I saw my parents arguing and fighting and name calling, and me and my brother would do it too. We would call each other the most horrible names, and even say things like, I hate you and I wish you were dead. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But that was normal in our house. That was just, I'm angry, and when I'm not angry, there was no apology. There was no sorry. It was just like it never happened. You say really mean things, and then you go your separate ways. And then you go to your room and calm down, and then a few minutes or hours later you would, reunite, and it was like it never happened. You're just happy-go-lucky again until it happened again, and there was no reconciliation. It was just normal to be angry and then not angry, nothing in between. And that made it hard for me to communicate, because what I thought is normal, it turns out, like with my children's father, he grew up in a home where they didn't curse each other out. They didn't raise their voice. They didn't throw things. They didn't beat each other up physically. And so that was real hard for me to even be in an environment where I was expected to be so poised, so calm and collected all the time. And then he would come to my house and it would be chaos all the time. But I was comfortable in that environment because that's where I grew up, So I didn't realize for years that there was a lot of things that were wrong, for both of us, actually, because they didn't deal with anything. They didn't talk about anything. If it wasn't sports or weather or good conversation, they didn't do conflict at all. He just he learned to run away from things, you know. And I learned to stand up and fight, no matter what. So, you know, the first sign of insecurity, the first sign of being mocked, or if I felt like it was an accusation, or you know, if I felt like you were demeaning me in any way, my defenses went up quick, and I started swinging. That was just how I was taught. Um, Him, on the other hand, he was taught not to say anything, or to keep it to yourself, or don't make a wave. Just handle it on your own and run from every situation. So that's just how that happens. But it wasn't until a few months ago that God started breaking these structures down in my heart, in my mind, and letting me, shining light, you know, letting me see all the areas that there was major issues. But neither one of us were, I don't know if we were capable, or if we were, no, I think we were capable. We just weren't prepared majorly. We weren't prepared at all to deal with any of that. So another weakness that he was talking to me about is assumptions. Since I'm very analytical, if I see something, hear something, witness, you know, my mind automatically goes to scenarios, previous experienced scenarios. Like, I've been here before, I know what to expect. And it's rarely actually like that. Presumptions. I'm really good at that. I was taught that from a really young age. And it turned out that was just a defense mechanism that would help me predict what is in front of me, what is about to happen, so that I can better cope. The problem was, it didn't turn out the way I expected it to most of the time nowadays, because I'm not, a teenager anymore. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm in my 30s. So things have changed quite a bit, which means my mindset had to change. Especially since God's been clearing out my heart. That was probably the hardest part, is because there was so much pain in there. I mean, years and years of pain just locked up away. And I tried to just, keep it covered. Don't let anybody know. And, you know what? You can't heal from anything you hide. And God can't bless who you pretend to be. So I had to be real. I had to get real with God, because, you can't lie to him anyway. He knows everything. So good luck trying to hide from God. Read the book of Jonah, But for me, he had to start tearing down all these walls inside my heart first. And then after he tore down the walls, then he started tearing down the structures in my mind that I've been using to protect myself. And he's so loving. He really is. Like, he's the best therapist in the world. I used to go to therapy for many years, and they always talked about how you feel, what you think, what you want, But, like, root causes, they didn't really talk about things like that. I mean, even when I started researching, like, name calling, like, why do I name call, or how do I stop name calling, because I will research for days. It like, everything in the search was all about, like, either marriages, why people name call when they're married. I'm like, yeah, not yet. And then bullying, how to deal with, like, bullying and for children. I'm like, well, I'm not a child anymore, so that doesn't pertain to me either. So I kept scrolling, and I couldn't find much information, other than, like, analytics. Like, it's an argument of behavior. It's an abusive behavior, which I already knew these things. You didn't have to point those things out. But I just wanted to know, like, how do I stop? And the information was just not there. Maybe I was looking in the wrong place, but I went to Google, so I thought you could find just about everything on Google. But there was just a lot of information on other things, just not what I was looking for, and that happens sometimes, and that's where God starts taking me deeper, because a lot of time it's still a heart matter, but a lot of issues that are built up in the mind are subconscious. Like, I didn't intend to become that way. I didn't want to, a lot of people don't want to be like that. And it's easy to say, don't do this, or don't do this, or you better do this, or you need to do this. But you have to stop and think for a minute, or maybe a long time, what caused the person to do that to begin with. And that's just how my mind has always worked. You have global thinkers who just get straight to the point, like, what's the big picture, and then they come up with a conclusion based on what you've said. They don't analyze the details, they don't ask questions, they just go straight to the point. And that's always bothered me, because I'm big on details. I love details. I don't know if it's a female thing or it's just how my brain works, but when someone says, this happens, I immediately start thinking, why? What would occur to cause this or lead this to happen? And that helps me understand. And that's majorly what I want. I just want to understand. Some things I don't, some things I never will, and I'm okay with that. But I think that's why God has been pushing me into the like counseling, or a field, for counseling. I always wanted to be a counselor. I just don't have the expertise or the education for that one. And right now, going back to college seems a little off right now. There's a whole lot of things I have to complete first. So I do want to go back to college. I will be going back to college, praise God. I know He's going to make a way for that one too. But right now, me and God are just working on breaking down certain structures that have caused a lot of damage in my life and in the lives of other people. Because God showed me through Joyce Meyer that as many people as you can help, that's as many people as you can hurt. So if God sends me into someone's life, I have to stay aware at all times that I can be a harm to this person, or I can be a help. So I'm dedicated to encouragement and speaking truth in love, because truth without love is just cruel, and speaking love without truth is just as cruel, because you're not helping them at all change. And that's what we're doing. We're all walking out this life trying to change. I do believe most people do want to change. You got a few out there who's just happy to be the way they are and they don't have a care in the world. Good for them. But for the rest of us, we all know we have flaws, and we all know there's some things that are just not right. And we are definitely trying to pursue the right path, but maybe we just don't know how to get there. So that's where the Holy Spirit comes in. I'm starting with the finished work of Jesus Christ always, but the Holy Spirit will guide and lead and direct, and He's been doing that for me for years now. I've just been starting to tune in tremendously to His voice within the past couple years, so I know His voice real well now, and that helps me to walk it out. But His guidance is vital in my life, and He's been helping me heal in many, many ways. But anyway, since the video has gotten too long, I'll probably just make another one. Anyway, do please comment or share your testimony if you'd like. And I do hope you have a beautiful day, and God bless.